Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Cruise News You Can Use. Got some interesting stories today, so let's get started. First up, P&O is not allowed entry into New Zealand. So it seems that the P&O ship Pacific Adventure sailed on a 13-night Kiwi Adventure. I believe she departed Sydney the 20th of November. Itinerary was supposed to have 7 ports of call: Bay of Islands, Auckland, Tauranga, Napier, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, and Fiordland National Park, all in New Zealand. Well, and then after that, they were at sea for a day or two, and then they were going to get back to Sydney on December 3rd. Well, New Zealand has a strict biosecurity test that each ship must pass before they enter New Zealand waters. Well, due to the weather and the ocean conditions, the ship was not able to clean the hull thoroughly enough to pass that test, so they failed it a couple of times. So unfortunately, New Zealand denied the ship entry. So now you've got a couple thousand passengers on this ship whose entire goal was to explore New Zealand, and they can't get into New Zealand. So understandably, some very upset passengers. P&O scrambled and substituted a couple of port days. They're going to do an overnight in Hobart and then a day in Eden. Basically they went from 7 ports down to 2. P&O's giving refunds obviously for all the excursions. I believe a 25 or 50% future cruise credit, some onboard credit to try and make it right. Unfortunately for those passengers, they didn't get to see any of New Zealand on their trip. Next up, Carnival announces some cruise director shuffling. So last week, the cruise director of the Carnival Mardi Gras quit. His name is Jonathan Cookie Adams, a much beloved cruise director, according to all accounts that I read. He's decided it's time for him to move on to the next adventure, and so Carnival's been scrambling to to find cruise directors to fill that gap, because he was supposed to be the cruise director on the Mardi Gras until February of 24. So they just announced that they're going to be putting in substituting, for lack of a better word, 4 different cruise directors over the next couple of months: Marty Piits, Jacky Tang, Joseph Boyes, and TJ Partida. I'm sure they'll be making an announcement probably in the next, I would say, 30, maybe 45 days, about who's going to be kind of the next. I don't want to say permanent, because they're never permanent. They always rotate, 6 months or a year. They'll be announcing more shortly, I'm sure. Mr. Adams' departure came as a surprise to all the passengers and a lot of crew. But I wish him well in whatever that next adventure is for him. So if you like the cruise news you can use, hit that like button, hit the subscribe notification, what to do. And if you want to send me a comment about a story I did or a story I should do, please feel free, send me a comment. Next up, so as I mentioned a couple of days ago, P&O and Cunard are in contract negotiations with about 900 crew members, and they had filed some paperwork last week that would allow them to fire those employees and then rehire them at lower wages, not due to performance issues, just due to the contract negotiations. Well, they've decided to file another piece of paper to remove the earlier one. So basically, they won't be using that strategy during the negotiations. And Nautilus International, which is the company that's representing the employees at in this negotiation, basically said, that's a positive step in the negotiation process. And they're very happy to hear that, Carnival is withdrawing that. Last up, kind of a disappointing, because I was kind of following this world cruise adventure, but so the company Life at Sea had to cancel their 3-year world cruise. So they were supposed to debark on, I believe it was November 20th of this year, for a 3-year, 130,000-mile cruise around the world. Unfortunately, they have canceled that trip. Basically, they couldn't purchase a ship. Originally, they were going to purchase the AID Auda, but that fell through. They were in negotiations to purchase a couple other ships, and none of them came to fruition. So now they basically just canceled it. And that puts some of the passengers or proposed passengers kind of in a bind, because some of them sold their homes to finance this trip, and well, also, why own a home if you're going to be on a cruise for 3 years? But that kind of puts them in a pickle. So hopefully Life at Sea will cough up the refund sooner rather than later, so these people have the money to purchase another home or figure out what their next steps are. But that's about it for today. I hope you have a great one.